Okay, we're live.
This one? Great. Hello, I'm Rosvan. I'm a third-year student at Computer Science and Engineering University here in Romania. And I'm going to talk to you about my Google Summer of Code experience, more specifically about how I didn't get in the first year of university, and how in 1 year I changed that into a pretty flawed, pretty neat application process. First year at university, I was straight out of high school, coming with huge grades. And I was like, yeah, these were my expectations for the university. Like, I want to keep getting high grades, continue with this mindset. And for the first semester, that's how it was. And at some point, I heard about this cool thing called Google Summer of Code, where you can contribute to open source projects that people are actually using. And you can also make a lot of money out of it. That's what I thought at the time. But one of the problems with my application to Google Summer of Code was that I had no expectation, no knowledge about what working on a real project means. I was used to the academic environment where your tasks are homework that have clear goals, like you have to do this and this and that. You have tests that validate even the slightest change that you're going to write in your code. And at the end of the day, you either finish the task or you don't. It's really clear about how it is. Moving to a real-world project, an open source project, where, first of all, the scale is so much larger. Instead of 1,000 lines of code, you're going to have hundreds of thousands written by all kinds of different people. Also, when you're trying to look for something to do at an open source project, there are usually lists of things to do that don't have a specific way of telling you how to do it. Like, there is no right or wrong solution, and you have to figure that out. How are you going to do it? And you have to find something to work on your own. And that for me was a really hindrance, and it was one of the main things that stopped me from moving towards my goal of getting in at Google Summer of Code in the first year. I tried to do something, and I was like, hell, I cannot ever do this. I have no idea how to start it, how I can do it. And the second thing that's really bothered me and didn't get me into Google Summer of Code was that I had a severe case of procrastination, like leaving things for tomorrow, which turns into next week and next month. So a few months later, when the application finished, this whole Google Summer of Coaching just passed by me, and I didn't even understand what happened, because even though I really wanted to get in, I didn't even manage to send one contribution. I didn't manage to apply, so to no surprise, yeah, the result was not so good. Now, a great thing that happened to me though was that I met a person that's now one of my best friends that got in at Google Summer of Code that year, and I started asking him about how he did it. Like, at first I thought like, wow, this guy must have like 2 or 3 brains. It's so great. How? Because I thought open source projects are like this very complex thing still. And as our discussions progressed, I saw that he didn't have to do things as complex as I imagined. I was like, hey, maybe I can do it too. Like, if he did it, it doesn't sound too difficult in theory. So next year, when the university year started, I was like, okay, this year I'm gonna do stuff. But I started with a completely different mindset. And starting with his project, it took me like maybe 5 days to finish my first contribution. It was something like changing the label of the button. I know it might seem a lot, but at the end of the day, I had my first contribution done. I know what it means, what I should expect. And after the first one, many others came by. And as the time passed, when I got, like 1 year ago in December, I moved to a new project. That was actually the one that I did for the past summer. And again, the issues were still kind of difficult and totally something else like you would meet in an academic environment, like homework. But this time around, I had so much more confidence, because I was like, okay, we have this issue, I'm gonna try to do it. I'm not gonna leave my laptop until I finish it. Like, I don't do it today, I'm gonna come back tomorrow and finish it and complete it. And so, after a few contributions, like 1 month later, the people in the community were already seeing me like one of the developers, and that again boosted my self-confidence so much. Like with quite a little effort, I became something that I couldn't even dream of last year. And the only secret to doing that was just constantly putting effort into it, right? So you have one contribution, you do it today or maybe not, it takes you 5 days to do it, and then you don't just abandon it and say like, okay, next month I'm gonna have another, but you keep on going, you keep trying to do stuff. And when the GSoC application started, I was so confident that my application process went so easily. Like, of course I was still making mistakes, but I could ask persons in the community and they would help me with no problem. So yeah, I eventually got into Google Summer of Code, and the main differences from the first year to the second was that I had a completely different mindset in the sense of I tackled problems like, I can do this, and I will do it even if it takes me 1 day, even if it takes me 1 week. And the second, and I think most important, was not to procrastinate. Like, do not start tomorrow or next week, start today, because otherwise you're gonna always leave it for another time. So yeah, if you want to get in Google Summer of Code, start today and don't give up even if it's difficult. So thank you guys, hope you enjoyed the presentation.